In this section, you're going to learn about documenting your functions with docstrings. So just how we've seen the documentation of the built-in functions, you can create documentations for your own functions, and it's with something called docstrings. So what is a docstring? Well, it is triple quotes that appear right below the function signature. So you're going to have this triple quoted string. It's a literal Python string, and you're going to write all of the documentation in these triple quotes on multiple lines. So and basically you're just going to write how to use the function. You're going to document how to use the function, and that's where the term docstring comes from. It's a documentation string. So there are many different flavors of docstrings. This just means there's many different ways that people write docstrings. I tend to like the NumPy docstrings. NumPy is just a library in Python for doing scientific computing, and it's just one of the more popular sort of flavors of docstrings. There are other standards out there, basically just give you a guide on how to write a good docstring. So I've actually opened up the NumPy docstring over here, and if we go to the top, it says documentation standard, and then it goes through how to write the docstrings. There's a lot in here. This is not something that you want to worry too much about. Essentially, what it does is it breaks down the documentation into many different sections, and then each section is just formatted a certain way. So I'm just going to go through a few of the sections that I think are the most important. That's the parameters section and the return section, and show you how to actually write these docstrings. Okay, so say you've written your function, but now you want to add a docstring to it so that you remember how to use it and your users know how to use it as well. So what you do is you press enter over here, and in the very first line of your function code is where you write the docstring. So you first create a triple quoted string, so 3 quotes, and let's press enter. And then we're going to go back and write our documentation here. So the very first thing that you write is just a overall summary of what the function does, and just you can say takes the square root of a number using Newton's method. All right, great. So this can be multiple lines. It doesn't have to be a single line, but this is just a overall description of what it takes. Next, you can write a parameters section and then underline each section with just dashes like this. And this is where you describe each of these parameters. So num, and you just put the parameter name and then a colon and then a space, and then you just write a description for here. Number to take the square root of. Okay, great. You can add a space over here. Let's go to guess. Initial guess of the square root does not have to be that good. And then max error is the maximum amount of error to allow for the square root. Okay. And then what you want to do is another good section is called the returns section, and it'll just return a float. I'll just say the square root as a float. So it's good to say what type of number it'll be. You can have some examples. So this is another common section, like how do you actually use this thing? So here we actually named it square root of 5. So we can say, 100, maybe the number we want to take the square root of. That's kind of boring. Let's say 277. We take a guess of 15, and we'll just leave the 1 like that. So maybe we want to take the square root of, 1988. A guess of 20. And this time we'll say the max error will be a little bit smaller like this. So these are just different examples of how you can call the function. All right, so what we've produced here, this is the docstring. And now I'm going to press Shift Enter. It doesn't affect how the code is run. So let's go ahead and run this. We can actually run this example, make sure the example works. So that is the square root. Now what is really cool is that, and that's not square root of 5, let's do square root of 5, that's what we really want, okay. Square root 5, you can get help on your own function. So once you create a docstring, then the Jupyter Notebook will show you this docstring right here. So it says the word docstring. As you can see, I just press Shift Tab Tab, and then you can read about your function like this. So very cool. Docstrings are very important. I would say almost necessary to have for all the functions that you create, especially when you're writing more complex code inside of VS Code and you write a long file with a whole bunch of functions. It's really important to document your functions so that your users know how to use them, and importantly, so that you know and remember how to use them. So I like the NumPy doc standard. Really, just if you just do the parameter section and the returns section, that should be good, and examples is fine. There are several more sections listed here. Don't feel like you need to do all of them. I particularly just do these two, and then write a description at the top for the overall summary of the function. All right, so that is how you can document your functions using docstrings.